Alright, so in this video I talk about why is it helpful to understand how npm start works behind the scenes. So first of all, you understand the role of a task runner. Now npm is more than just a task runner, but one of its purpose is being a task runner. So now you understand that if you want to create your own task runner, then what does that mean? So let's say your task runner is just called abc, and in the terminal if you run abc start, something should happen. Your task runner code should run. So what you have to do is you have to create a file executable called abc and pass it in the path environment of the shell process. So when you run abc start, the shell process will go to the path environment and find your executable abc file, and it's going to pass you the command start. So then in your task runner you can basically write any code. If the command is start, do this, do that, anything. So now you understand the problem. What does it really mean when you type a command and it says command not found? So in this case, if we type npm start and it says command not found, it means the file with that name does not exist in the path environment variables of the shell process. And a small diversion, but I want to share a quick observation. So there's a concept called path shadowing, which is basically if you have two files named npm in the path environment, so two files with the same name in the path environment, which one runs first? So when the shell process receives the command, it does a left to right search on the path environment variables, and it will run the one it finds first, so the leftmost. So now if you remember, in npm when we were creating a new process which was supposed to run react script start, and it had several node modules folder which could possibly have react scripts. One of those node modules folder was inside your project, and that is the ideal node modules folder you want to run. The rest are like backup. So if you notice, and I'll attach the picture here, that the node modules folder of our local project was at the leftmost. And that is because the environment variable, the way the process searches for environment variables is left to right. So that's why npm added it at the leftmost. Now, if you watch the previous videos and you encounter with these bugs, you should understand what's happening. So let's say you have TypeScript installed in your project locally using npm. So you're in your local project folder, you type npm install you type npm install TypeScript. TypeScript gets added in the node modules. So you're like, oh, okay, TypeScript is installed. So you type TypeScript in your terminal and it says command not found, which is weird. But then you notice that inside package.json, you have build which maps to TypeScript. And when you run npm build, it works perfectly. So now you get confused, why is TypeScript working in one case and not in the other? But it should make sense now, because what's basically happening is that TypeScript is inside the node modules environment, and when you run npm build, the shell process finds npm and creates a new process. This new process will create another new process. Let's call that process B. So new process will create process B, and it will also pass in process B the path environment variables, and it will make sure to include the node modules folder. So when process B will run TypeScript, it will find the TypeScript executable inside node modules. But if we install TypeScript using npm, and in the terminal we just write TypeScript directly, the shell process does not have node modules in its path variables. So it will not find the TypeScript executable, and it's going to return command not found. If you want your TypeScript to work without using npm build, the solution is to use npx TypeScript. And why does npx TypeScript work? Because npx makes sure that the shell process looks in the node modules folder of your local project. So when it makes the shell process looks in the node modules folder of your local project, it's going to find the TypeScript file. Okay, now let's take another scenario. Now in this, previously we had TypeScript installed using npm install TypeScript, and you had TypeScript in your node modules. But this time we have TypeScript installed globally in our laptop, not inside node modules. We installed it globally. So TypeScript is going to work in my terminal. if I write TypeScript directly, because it's installed globally. So when I use TypeScript and it works, I'm like, nice. So I go to the Docker file, but then when I make a Docker file of my code and I type TypeScript over there, I get the error command not found TypeScript. And you will get confused normally that TypeScript was working in my computer, but it's not working in my Docker container. Why is that? But now it should make sense to you, because in your Docker container does not have access to the global variables of your computer. In the Docker container, when you run TypeScript, it's going to look into its path variables. It's going to see npm over there, but it's not going to run that because the command is TypeScript. So it's going to return an error that I did not find the command. And the example is right here. So in this example, as you can see, he is running his Docker file, but he gets this error that TypeScript did not this process did not complete successfully. This command did not work successfully. And that's happening because he runs TypeScript. He runs TypeScript directly, and TypeScript is not installed globally in his Docker container. Maybe it's installed inside node modules. And yes, as you can see, it is indeed installed inside node modules. But when he types TypeScript here, it's not going to look in node modules. It's going to look inside the path, the system path. It's going to look inside the system path variables of the Docker container. It's not going to find TypeScript there. And that is why it gets this error. So for him, the fix would be to either use npm build, and in the script he should include build, which maps to TypeScript command, or also he can use npx over here. Now let's cover the final point. It's good practice if you are creating a Docker file for backend and you need it for production. It's good practice to use command node server.js and not npm start, even if scripts.start maps to node server. And you would ask why it's npm start is mapping to node server. It's going to do exactly the same thing, which is true. But when you run npm, you're basically creating three processes. And when you run node server.js directly in the terminal, you'll just create a single process. So this is more efficient. You save memory. And let's see an example of this. So this is my Docker file. And right now, as you can see, I've used node server.js. So I've built and run this Docker file. And if I check the processes being run in this, I get, as you can see, only a single process is being run because we wrote only this command. If we had written this, npm run dev or npm run start won't matter. In the both cases, multiple processes will be created. And let's prove it. So now if I build again, and then run again, if I check if it's running, now if I do, now you can see there's more than one process being created because we used npm script. Three processes are being created. This will take more memory. This is less efficient. So that's why in production we prefer this.